Welcome everyone to our 1:30 session of virtual Volusia Days at the Capitol. This session is going to be Affordable Housing and Sadowski Housing Trust Fund. And to speak with us this morning, we've got Stephanie Sutton, the Director of External Affairs at the Florida Housing Finance Corporation. Stephanie was the former Deputy Director of Cabinet Affairs for the Chief Financial Officer with Florida Department of Financial Services and was the Vice President, Government Relations of American Cancer Society of Florida. She's a University of Tampa graduate and the Vice Chair of Big Brothers Big Sisters. And she's joining us by telephone this afternoon. Stephanie, thank you so much for taking the time out of your schedule to chat with us. And before I jump into questions, let me just let the attendees know, in order to get the most out of this, if you guys could type some questions that you might have for her into our chat feature, and we'll get those to her, and we'll kind of keep this session just rolling. Stephanie, did you have anything before we jump into questions that you wanted to open with for the group, or would you rather us just kind of get right into it?
Well, actually, I was going to start with some Volusia County fun facts, if that's okay. I guess
Fantastic.
you all received some information on Florida housing in advance of this segment, so I won't bore you with those details. But one of our primary goals in the state is to ensure affordable housing for Floridians, and in Volusia County, this RFA cycle, which are requests for applications, we funded 2 new projects in Volusia County, almost 600 units. So that's fantastic. Some of the other fun facts I have are from the Coronavirus Relief Fund that the governor gave us midsummer. We received $250 million to quickly expedite and allocate to the local governments around the state as quickly as possible for mortgage and rental assistance. And Volusia County received $2.1 million and was able to assist 681 households, and the city of Daytona received $1.4 million and assisted 914 households. So you all did a great job of getting those funds out, and I believe it was the city of Daytona who others were actually turning to get advice and guidance on how to get their money out as quickly as Daytona did. So kudos to the city and county for doing a great job and helping us look good. The other thing I was going to mention is this session so far has been relatively quiet. I think some of it is just the strangeness of everything being virtual. It has been very, very hard to get in to meet with members. The Senate is completely closed, so you have no access. They have people, I know in years past you've walked the halls, so everybody knows that, there's those, I would call them almost like tunnels, and they've got the sergeant's office blocking those, so you literally can't even walk the halls in the Senate. The House members are a little bit more open. Trey and I have had a couple of meetings with the appropriations chairs, whether it be virtual or in their offices on the House side, and we've had some good conversations about the Sadowski funds. The governor in his budget is proposing $423 million, a little bit more than 423. I want to say 423.1, but we are doing everything we can to shore up those dollars. One thing that I think is in our favor, I say in our favor, for full fund, quote unquote, full funding, is that the governor vetoed the SHIP money to the tune of $225 million, and that money is still sitting in the trust fund and is likely going to be swept into general revenue to help offset, the deficits that the pandemic has really hit us with here in Florida. So I think because that's already part of the budget and that 225 is already going to be swept, that hopefully the 423 that's in the governor's budget recs will stay intact.
Well, that sounds like as good a news with those funds as we could hope for, given what the state and everybody's been through this past year. You talked a little bit about Volusia, what we've received here in the last little bit. any specific expectations for Volusia in the coming year or the coming years?
No, I think you guys are doing a great job. I think the county and the city need to continue to keep an eye out for our RFAs and, where appropriate, apply for those resources. I know that we have a couple of RFAs where, local governments contributing in any form or fashion really helps, drive, additional points and allows for more points and awards for those local governments. Anything that you all can do to talk to your members and shore up any support from Democrats and Republicans alike for the Sadowski funds would be huge. I mean, there's no legislation out there right now that I have seen that causes me to have my hair on fire, that something needs to be killed or anything like that. It's really pretty. Most of the bills I've seen so far are for tax exemptions. A lot of the developers would love to seek tax exemptions for their properties, which, we try to stay out of that fight because, Trey feels very strongly that, we already have enough problems with the NIMBYs, they're not in my backyard with affordable housing projects, and for them to be able to look at that project and say, well, they don't even have to pay property taxes, is that fair? So we try to stay out of that fight and let the cities and counties, go to battle.
Great. Thanks for that, Stephanie. Jim, I see Jim Cameron. I see you typing over there. If you want to just turn your mic on, you could probably just go ahead and ask the question directly. I didn't see too many other questions being typed.
No, and Stephanie, we sure appreciate you coming on board with us and all today, though. And I was just going to ask. I mean, we're hearing more, I'd say at this end, about veterans housing, veterans and such. I mean, so are y'all hearing anything more up there in Tallahassee, Finance Corporation for Veterans programs?
I actually have not, and I have some pretty good relationships with the folks in Veterans Affairs. I will tell you, we do have a program right now that's called Salute Our Soldiers, which is down payment, closing cost assistance. I want to say up to $15,000 for active military and veterans. And Trey set aside $8 million for that program, and we have only hit, I want to say 2.4, 2.5 million in down payment and closing cost assistance. So there's still a lot of money available there. And I know that we did have at least one or two RFAs recently where if some of the units were set aside for veterans, they got additional points in their applications, if I remember correctly. But I have not been approached yet on any new programs.
Okay. All right. Sure appreciate that.
Absolutely.
Anyone else from the attendees, and any questions that you might have specifically, or things that you've been hearing around the community, conversations about this affordable housing issue? I know that the city of Daytona has been talking quite a bit about a way to encourage some affordable workforce housing starts, within the city limits. Anyone out there? Cheryl?
Just a quick question. I wondered if there's any areas of the state that seem to be doing a little better than others in just the affordable housing issue. If there's any insights you could share from other areas of the state that may be handling this in a very good way. Or are we all in the same boat?
I'm thinking through because there's been a lot of conversations lately about Broward County. Can't really say that they're doing it any better than anybody else because I think they're just so at this point landlocked that I can't say they're doing it any better. No, I'm trying to think. It seems like when I think about the big cities, there's crisis everywhere. When you look at Tampa Bay, when you look at Jacksonville, Orange County, I mean, it seems like it's everywhere. And then you have the Panhandle that was hit pretty hard, that really, I wouldn't say had an affordable housing crisis until Hurricane Michael. And then that made it, that much worse. And we're also trying to look at, providing affordable housing in rural communities that, isn't necessarily high rise, multifamily in the way that we think of it, but, something that would be maybe townhomes or something, that would fit better and be better suited in those communities. But I think, honestly, from Pensacola to Key West, affordable housing is an issue. Even in the fall, I'm thinking through, like, even Apalachicola. There was a project in Apalachicola that took well over 5 or 6 years to get through because of the NIMBYs. And that's an area where you have, workforce, teachers, fishermen, farm workers, and they're in dire need in a little community like Apalachicola for affordable housing.
Well, thank you for that. At least we don't feel alone here.
Well, and that's actually that's good to know, Cheryl, because a lot of times you do feel like that you're out there on an island, right, trying to figure out these issues when everybody's kind of struggling with the same things. And I don't know if this is an affordable housing question, but I know that we've had a big revitalization effort going on in our historic downtown in Daytona Beach, and but the biggest piece that's missing right now is the residential piece. And my question, I guess, is there a way that affordable workforce housing could play a role in that, and whether it's some kind of mixed development, or have you seen any success stories for bringing something like that to revitalize the downtown?
Yes, I will say I'm just thinking back to a conversation we had last week. We had a workshop with our board members to start talking through some issues that they would like to see on the plate, and to delve into other issues. And of course, rehabilitating is a big component, and multi-use, where you have residential and commercial. And there are ways to structure projects so that, if you're seeking like tax credits, where the tax credits and the affordable housing and that piece is separated from the commercial real estate of the property, but it can be done. We have had projects come through like that. And that's exactly what you need to revitalize downtown. You need the residences.
Yep. And that's, again, that's probably not, it's obviously not just Daytona that struggles with that, but probably everybody that's going through that same effort. Are there, and I assume that there must be, just I don't know how to identify them. Are there, development partners that look for those kind of opportunities? Is there a way for our community to identify those groups and kind of put our situation in front of them to see if they'd be interested?
Absolutely. And I don't want to name names because I'll get my hands.
Sure. No, but
I can do it offline. I know. I'm thinking of one in particular who just, in my opinion, hit it out of the park in downtown Tampa, and actually incorporated an old church into the development and converted the old church into the community space and built the apartment complex behind it. It's impressive.
Is there without you naming names, is there a place that we could go to find these kind of folks? Is there like a I don't know if it's like a trade group or a publication or something that a starting point, I guess, for us when we're.
Yes. I'll get you some contact information. It's called CAP, Affordable Housing. CAHP is the association. I can get you some contact information.
Thank you so much, Jim. Would you mind following up with her on that and circulating that back to our group? He's probably out there on.
I would say that's probably 75% of the developers that we work with are part of that association.
Okay.
Some of the really big guys bowed out and decided they didn't need to be a part of that association.
Right. For our attendees, did anyone else have any Any questions for Stephanie this afternoon? Well, Stephanie, thank you so much for joining us. I know you said that you're kind of in transit there, so we really appreciate you taking the time out and drive safe and have a safe trip down there to Tampa. Just for our attendees, I want to just kind of thank our sponsors once again. While we have a couple free minutes here at the end, Daytona International Speedway, Giabi Consulting and Management, Charter Spectrum, FPL, Foundation Risk Partners, and AT&T have really made this all possible for us today. So, and obviously in your attendance and in your help here with, it's so important to show the folks in Tallahassee how much we care in Volusia County. So I think we're doing that today. So thank you to all of you who attended. Thank you, Stephanie, and we'll see everyone at the next session at 2 o'clock.